Amplifier. Yeah, well, it sounds like it's working in Albuquerque, that is for sure. So, I just hope your winter is not going to be too severe. And you get the right amount of precipitation, which I would imagine would be mostly rain. We've had some snow here, but not a heck of a lot of it. And all we have now are just isolated patches in shady areas. Just isolated patches in the shady areas. Okay, Doug, I'm going to sign with you on this one. And I'm going to try to call a fairly large group and see if they're on tonight. But, my gosh, it was a pleasure meeting you here on 40 meters. You're doing an excellent job. Yeah, K5 November Charlie, K1G and ZL. Go ahead.
Yeah, K1GZL, kilowatt 5, November Charlie. Well, very good, Charlie. You got a beautiful signal, and we'll look for you again here on the band. KK5, November Charlie, Albuquerque, 73s. Have a good weekend coming up.
No, San Mario, 25 over on that one. 25 over. I'm beginning to think the short skip may not be in there tonight. If it isn't, well, I'm out of luck. I'm out of luck. 73, Doug, hope we work again real soon. King 5, November Charlie, Albuquerque, New Mexico, K1GZL. K1GZL is calling K0RK, KX4WC. WA3ZNDI, maybe WA3FTC if you're there, Ken. AC3 George Daniels, AC3 GD, N3 George London Thomas. Any of you fellows out there, this is K1GZL. From K6 to 0. Hi, real good, kid. I'm kind of worried about all that living in Fort Hays, Maryland with my dad. I was a 14-year-old just before I got my hands covered. Doing all that short-wave mercenary and sending off letters. Minsan, ABI ba over? Negative, si Kuya Henry, si KC6, HFF, over. The house is only coming off the one Colorado, give me a roger.
That's the sound of somebody tuning it up, but I have my automatic notch on. Okay.
This is November 6 Kilo Tango Oscar. November 6 Kilo Tango Oscar calling CQ 40 meters.
Let's see if it...
CQ CQ40, CQ40, CQ40. This is N6KTO, November 6 Kilo Tango Oscar, calling CQ 40 meters.
Kilo Golf 7 Hotel Victor Romeo.
Kilo Golf 7 Victor Hotel Romeo, QSO. November 6 Kilo Tango Oscar.
November 6 Kilo Tango Oscar. It's Kilo Golf 7 Hotel Victor Romeo, like high voltage radio. You're 5-9 into Arizona.
Copy that. A little bit of dyslexia kicking in there. Kilo Golf 7 Hotel Victor Romeo, November 6 Kilo Tango Oscar. You are strong 5-9. Strong 5-9 into Santa Cruz, California, or SoCal, California, in the county. Now here's Jason, John, Adam, Sam, Ocean, Nora, and back to you.
Yeah, I just kind of reconfigured my loop antenna, so I was just scanning through the bands, and I heard you on there. There's a lot of people on the band, but they're not real strong right now. So anyway, just 100 watts on the old ICOM 756 Pro.
Well, you're definitely doing the job. I'm actually doing about 500 right now, peak right now. Testing out a new antenna tuner, about one of the Palomar Auto HF tuners, the new ones that came out. So I'm kind of putting it through its paces right now, seeing how it's working, how it's tuning, all that stuff. So I'm just kind of going from band to band and testing it out and putting it under a load with an amplifier, making sure everything's not going to blow up on me.
Well, I just cooked an old Heathkit tuner not too long ago. I knew something was funny, and I smelt something, and it somehow melted the plexiglass in it. So that's why I just reconfigured everything. I'm done screwing around with the ladder line. I just feed the loop with coax, and I don't have a very long feed line, so I figure, there's probably no advantage to me running ladder line.
It's true, but ladder line does give some benefits for, like, if you're going to run a nice wire antenna or something like that. So, I mean, it also helps with that. I have a couple of guys over here that use that, like, religiously, and it works very well for them. So, what they like to do, so especially when they string it out for, like, 160 and stuff.
Well, I don't know how long this is, but it's an 80-meter loop, and I checked it with the Nano VNA, and it's resonant about 3.5 megahertz, which is not anywhere that I operate, but what that does is it gives me 40 meters, and I can tune 40 meters with the internal tuner in the radio. So the choices are, if you want it to work higher up in 80, you'll lose all of 40. So that's just kind of how full wave loop wants to behave. But if you're willing to compromise on 80 and have it, resonant in the CW part of the band, you'll get 40, you'll get 20, and you'll get 17 and 10 pretty easily.
All right. Yeah, very good. I would take the multi-band over one band any day of the week. But some people just have antennas specifically for those particular bands, which are perfectly fine. I have an off-center fed dipole, a Buckmaster, which is 6 through 80. But I added a little bit of line on the back end of it, and I can kind of get it up to 160 with the tuner help. That's why I bought this tuner. So.
How many watts is that tuner rated for?
1800.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't seen an actual, like, real legitimate legal limit auto tuner. Maybe MFJ made one, but you can cut their numbers in half.
Exactly. Well, this thing is designed. This is from Palomar. Polestar. Sorry. It's the HF auto tuner. This is the newer one they have out. It's 1800, 100% duty cycle. You can key it out on digital and just keep it keying overnight, and it will be fine, according to their specs. So it's 1800 regardless. Obviously, we can't do 1800 legally, so 1500, which gives us a bit of a margin. I think that's probably why they made it 1800. So yeah, it's pretty good, and I got it active right now because 40 works okay for me, but when if I work a tuner, I kind of want it to be 1-to-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I saw they have a new LD Moss amplifier too.
I have a Meritron ALS 1300, which it fits its purpose. I'm running right now I'm on my Helicraft K4. Eventually I do want to get the Helicraft 1500 watt amplifier that goes with it. And then I have a Yaesu FTDX10 as a backup, and an ICOM 7300 as a secondary backup, just in case of all three fail.
Well, you need a couple more backups. You like, quadruple protection, you know. Yeah, I've got a couple of amplifiers over here. I don't have mine on right now, but they've got the Ten-Tech Centurion, and it's just two 3-500s. But the nice thing is it has 10 meters, it has 160 meters, and so then I have, I'm out in the shop, but in the house I have a SB220 that I usually use. And then they've got another Heathkit, which is this ugly brown thing called an HL2200. And it's basically an SB221. They just kind of made them the last ones, somewhere around 1987. So it's 15 through 80, and it uses 3-500s. So those are kind of the tubes I stick with because they seem to be pretty forgiving. But if I don't have to run this stuff, I don't run it, you know, because I like to burn things up.
I usually wouldn't run an amp unless if I really needed to. Like I said, this is a brand new auto tuner, so I actually want to put it through its paces really quick to see how it, make sure it's not going to smoke on me like first day or anything like that. So I'm purposely running the amplifier. I'm only doing about 700 watts, though, about PEP right now, with about a 35% drive. So I'm not killing it, but I do want to warm it up.
Oh yeah, you want to abuse the hell out of it the first week, and that way you'll know.
Exactly. So I'm just trying to, get it warmed up and all that stuff. I was on 20 earlier, did it there, no problem. I was on 10, but there's nobody to talk to, so I was just doing checks and just randomly just keying up and talking to myself over the air. If there was somebody listening, it'd be weird, but it is what it is. And then eventually I'm going to go up to 75 and 80 meters and go up there and try it. But I'll stick here with 40 for right now because it's open.
Yeah, we'll be on 3853 later on tonight if you want to come out there and test it out. There's a group of us in Arizona that get on there about 7 o'clock, so plenty of people will be able to tell you what you sound like. But, yeah, I got a new 710 a while ago, and I keep using all my old radios still. I don't know what it is. I must be crazy.
Well, actually, those Heathkits and those radios and those amplifiers, a lot of people are still going back to them, especially the old Yaesu FT101. I hear a lot of those on the radio now, especially with some of the older guys. I'm asking, or the 7300. That seems to be the other big one I hear people talking about. And I got one, like I said, it's a backup. And, I'll occasionally just turn it on and use it. I do a lot of digital operations, so I might be like on FT8 or something like that. Or WinLink, I'll do like WinLink or something like that and use that just to download, to warm up the finals a little bit.
Yeah, I've got several of the 101s. I've got one of the very early ones that doesn't have a letter. And it's an early one, so I don't know what year it puts it at, like probably 71, 72. And then I've got a 101B, And then I've got a completely different one called a 101 ZD, and it's a Mark III. And that one uses 6146 tubes instead of the sweep tubes. And then it just picked up a FT 901 DM, which is it kind of looks like the 101 ZD, but it was sort of like the top of the line in 1978, and that's a pretty cool radio. But I have I like the late 2000s radios for some reason, so I have a 756 Pro, 746 Pro, stuff like that. I stay away from the Kenwood stuff mostly, like TS2000s. Although I do have a TS940, and I really like it, but I've had to work on it a little bit too much. And it just, you never know if it's going to turn on or not when you go to use it.
Yeah, I did the same thing with Kenwood. Oh my God. I actually bought those BX, the BC or whatever their thing is, the 2001, the all mode, all band one that they had. I had that thing for like a week and I sold it. It's like, you know what? No. I used to be a big ICOM. I am a big ICOM person, but in recent years, ICOM just hasn't been doing it. So I've been kind of branching out. I picked up a couple of Yaesus, and then Helicraft is literally like 10 minutes from my house. So I basically picked up a K4. I had a K3. I like the K3. The whatchamacallit, the filtering on the Helicraft radios are just phenomenal. And so I picked up a K3. I had that for a long time. Got rid of it, which I do kind of regret. And then I just had to pick up the K4 here, and it's just, it's amazing. Half the time I actually kind of think the receiver's broken because it's so quiet.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when it's that quiet. Yeah, I've had a couple of 7300s. The first one, the USB broke on the back of it, and I called them on the phone. It was 4 months old, and they were just really rude to me. And, I'm like, okay, well, I'm an amateur extra. I didn't memorize all the questions. I actually kind of know some of this stuff. And they're like, criticizing how I have my antenna set up, and then I must have killed the radio with RF. And, I could send it in if I wanted to, but they weren't going to do anything for me. They would charge me for it. Just absolutely rude, just complete, dicks on the phone. And so I said, okay, all right. So then I called HRO, and I told them what happened, and they wouldn't do anything. So I said, okay, well, here I got this 4-month-old radio, and the USB port doesn't work on the back of it. And, so I traded it to my friend who didn't care for a FT102 that had been gone through by Malcolm. If you've ever heard of that guy, they call it Malcolmized. And that's a radio that has 3 tubes in the finals and does almost 200 watts. And it has all the bands and everything like that. And it has, it's supposed to be one of the cleanest radios as far as IMD because of the way they have the negative feedback circuit and all that in the tubes and lots of headroom. So that's what happened to that one. And then I wanted to have the band scope, so I bought another one. And then my friend that had that radio, he contacted me and he said, hey, your radio finally died completely. He'd been doing AM and stuff like that on it. And so he sent it out and he got it fixed. So I decided, well, I'm going to sell this other one because it's a year old. I sold it and I bought a 991A Yaesu. And I liked it okay, I just didn't like the display on it. It was really terrible compared to the 7300. And so I ended up getting rid of that, and just 2 weeks ago I bought the new FT710, and I got a monitor for it and all that. But I've been just playing around with other stuff because I don't really have room to put it out here, and I'm kind of tired of moving it back and forth in between the shop and the house.
Agreed. I had the 991 too, and I agree the display on that thing was just horrific. I did like the thing that it did have VHF and UHF, and I did like the digital C4 FM. I am a big digital person. Actually, my 7300, whatchamacallit, USB port went out too, and I sent it into ICOM. They fixed it. It took a long time, though. I actually had to call them a couple of times and talk to them about that. It's like, hey, I sent this thing into you like 2 months ago. What's going on? And I got it back maybe like a month ago. And, yeah, so, but it works. They fixed it. I know the 710 for the ASU. I actually picked up the FTDX10. I was hearing like a lot of, not so much a negative on the 710s, but I don't know. You go on QRZ, it looks like everybody and their brother's trying to sell that thing underpriced. So it's like, what are we doing? Power swapping or something? Or I don't know. But, yeah, so I picked up, I picked up the Yaesu FTDX10 for free, a brand new one in the box, didn't have to pay a cent for it. I actually traded that main trading company a Flex radio. I was digging the Flex. I still am. It's not bad, but I actually like the Hellcraft a little bit better. And so we traded, and I got the FTDX10. It didn't cost me a red cent, so I'm pretty happy on that.
I think they're pretty similar in a lot of ways. There might be a little bit more bandwidth on the scope on that one, and it's also hybrid, where the 710's down conversion. But I bought what's called the Field. It doesn't come with the speaker, so it's like $8.99. The way they do it is they sell it to you, and they take the manufacturer's coupon after they take their tax. So, like, Ham Radio Outlet is giving $100 off. They subtract $100 from $11.99, and they tax you on $1,099, and then they subtract the $200 Yaesu coupon from that, and then you pay $9.94 out the door. So I just thought, well, that's cheaper than a 7300, and this is a brand new radio. It's been out for barely a year. It's lacks some things that you get used to on the 7300 if you've ever used like the SWR analyzer or that kind of thing. And I've really gotten used to that because I have a Zygo G90 that does that too. And so also the tuner in the radio doesn't function on receive. It's out of line. It's bypassed. So if you're operating portable or something like that, and you tune the tuner to get a better signal, forget it. It ain't gonna happen. So I thought that's kind of silly. And the 991A is the same way also. The tuner does not work on receive, so you're just straight through, and that's really a bummer if you do portable work.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that. I didn't know it went straight through on receive and didn't kick in with even with the receive of the transmit. So basically, what happens is if your antenna is mismatched and you're not resident, it's not going to correct it. That sucks. Yeah, well, like I said, my biggest problem with the 9191 was the display and the and the menus. Actually, I don't like how the menus are doing. I like the menus are better on the FTDX10. It's a lot better. And I'm assuming probably the 710 has the same type of menu display as the 10 does, or the 101. The 101, the XTDX 101, the new one. I actually had one of those for a little bit too. But that thing was just huge, and it was just taking up a lot of space. I mean, it was a great radio, but it was only 100 watts. If I got the 200 watt version, I think I would have been a bit more happy with it. But I only got the 100 watt version, price-wise, And then, so I ended up wanting to go a bit smaller, so I wanted to get the 10.
Yeah, QSL, KG7HR Freddy. So the FTDX10 does the same thing on the tuner too. When you get a chance to try it out, you'll see that it doesn't work on receive. And there's another problem that it might have at some point in time, so just remember this. If you have for some reason where it just will like go into a high SWR after you've tuned it, when you key up and it said it had a good match, you need to open it up and you need to pull the tuner board out, and they accidentally epoxied all over the bottom of the board where it's supposed to be exposed printed circuit board to the ground part, and they just for some reason epoxied over it. and so it has a poor ground contact to the chassis, and I had to do that on my 991. But the 991 and the FTDX10 use the same tuner board, and I don't know about what they use in the 710, but it doesn't work on receive either. So 710, the menu pulls up this really nice screen where you have everything on one thing. It's super simple. It's so much better than the 991A. I've got an 891. You want to talk about a nightmare? Oh my God, that is a nightmare menu.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. I don't own one. I actually been thinking about buying one. I want to get something for my truck. In fact, I'm thinking about 7100. I'm kind of going back and forth on that. Yeah, I know the 991. The 891 is kind of similar to the old 857. I didn't know that about this one's tuner either. So, well, I mean, I like the receive sensitivity on this FTDX10. I mean, it's a quiet radio. It's not as quiet as the K4. It's not, and the filtering isn't quite as good as the K4, but it's definitely a good second. And I know the 10 and the 101, and probably the 710, basically, since the 710 is down conversion, it's probably not quite as good as the 10 or the 101, but it's definitely not bad at all. And 6KTO for ID.
What I really like about the 710 is the digital noise reduction actually really works and doesn't sound like this ICOM here when I turn it on and everybody's underwater. It really works real well. The receiver is very, very good. Very good. They did a good job on that. It's very good. I haven't tried the mouse yet with it, but what I got... so I made sure that I got a DVI monitor. I found like a HP monitor at Goodwill. It's like 27-inch monitor, 25-inch, something like that. And I'm not going to make the mistake of doing like these guys do. What happens is you hook an HDMI to DVI cord to the 10 or the 710 or any of them. And if it's a TV, like I got, a 40-inch TV that I was going to use. Well, the TV sends voltage commands through HDMI, and if it's a straight through cable that you have hooked to the radio, that voltage is going into the radio, and eventually you'll have a problem with the driver video card in the radio. But if you use probably a monitor that's HDMI, you'll probably be fine because it shouldn't ever send a command through. It's not, doesn't need to do bidirectional. So I just figured, you know what, let's not even find out. Let's just go get a monitor for the radio and the DVI to DVI cord and call it a day. And I did. And what I noticed is the resolution on the monitor is not real great. It's, you lose a little bit. It's okay. Now the resolution on the radio is very good. It's a lot better than the 7300. But I was really kind of a little disappointed when I hooked it to the monitor. Over.
Yeah, I actually have mine connected to the monitor too. I have a 47-inch, curved monitor, and it's HDMI port. So I have the monitor cut in half, pips, whatever they call it. So one half is the K4, which has direct HDMI out into so it's HDMI to HDMI. And then, you have that little divot, and then I have the other side for the A2, and that goes into the input. So if I have both radios running, my display will have an enlarged version of the display up on my top screen, and I can look at it. And I'm looking at the K4 right now because I have the A2 off. I can see like the whole, everything on my display, I can see it up there. It's really kind of cool. I like it, especially if I'm across the room and I'm looking at the waterfall or something like that, and I can hear somebody and just taking a look at the waterfall or see what's going on. I can look at it at a glance from a distance, and my bad vision can actually see it.
Well, I bet the Elecraft has good resolution on the monitor. So Is it just me, or is the 3D display kind of a gimmick for Yaesu? Like it's really kind of cheesy, like you can't really tell exactly where a signal is. It's kind of like the 756 Pro, where the spectrum scope is just like, okay, you know somebody's there, but you know you're not gonna like be able to be exactly on them.
Yeah. And you can kind of change the coloring on it, where the stronger signals kind of come up a little bit better. It gets a little bit better, but yeah, for the most part, I just keep it in the regular 2D. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is interesting to see it, but in the hindsight, it's like, not really. It doesn't really do big. It doesn't really do much.
Yeah, I think it's about as useful as the waterfall on the 991A, and that is not useful at all.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's a cool idea, but yeah, it doesn't really work. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I still do like the Yaesu. I mean, it is definitely a good small portable radio. I mean, it really is. It's pretty lightweight. It's not as light as actually the K4 is only like 5 pounds. 5 pounds soaking wet, maybe. So it's it's a bit heavier. I think the Ace is about 8 pounds, I think. But yeah, it's not bad. It's small, portable, has everything kind of built into it that you would need. If I wanted to disconnect it and take it on POTA, I could do that. I could also do that with the ICOM too. The ICOM's a bit smaller, but the tuner on the ICOM sucks. Let's just flat out say, ICOM tuners suck. Flat out.
Well, these old ones are good because they've got variable capacitors and electric motors in them. They're not doing like a relay deal. So this one here will tune like 10-to-1 SWR, whereas the 7300, if it's 3-to-1, forget it. It's not going to tune it. One cool thing though about the 7300 is it has push-to-talk tuning. It will automatically tune. It will automatically track you. The Yaesus don't do that. It's like the Yaesu has like an LDG tuner inside of it that's not even linked to anything. It doesn't remember anything. It doesn't do anything. It won't correct a bad SWR to save the radio. You ever notice that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it does not have memory recall. It does not try to find the lowest SWR from a saved memory. It doesn't have saved memory. The ICOM does. But, I mean, yeah, you're right. 3-to-1 SWR, even if it's just a little bit over 3-to-1, it's not going to tune it. Unless you put it into that emergency mode, and then you're only doing 50 watts. It's like, okay, if I'm working QRP, that's fine. But if I'm not working QRP, then it's like, well, I don't get my 50 watts, and now I have to deal with that. So then you have to kind of bring another tuner, or you have to bring a resonant antenna, which I actually would prefer the resonant antenna over the tuner. If I'm going to go out in the field or something like that, obviously. But you think they would make it a little bit better. Like the K4, he'll do 10-to-1, he'll do 11-to-1. With the tuner has two or 3,000 built-in memories. It will tune you in seconds and all that stuff. And it's insane. I kind of wish Powercraft would sell their tuner technology to ICOM and maybe Yaesu, and then actually make a tuner that's worthwhile for inside the radios. Another good company that does it, the Chinese ones, like the Exact Zoo or whatever you call them. Their tuners are actually pretty good too. If you've ever played with any of their radios.
Yeah, I've got the Zygu G90. That tuner in that thing is amazing. I had the QRP Yaesu, the 818. Boy, what a piece of crap. I mean, it's okay. You need to scream in the microphone to get 4 watts, 5 watts. So the Zygu G90, 20 watts, awesome tuner. I run a MP1 super antenna, which is just a manual screwdriver, and it's really good for portable. You're not going to make a ton of contacts on it, but I mean, like it's good. I like to use the 891 for portable. but the one that I got used from somebody else, I never realized that the SWR meter on it actually doesn't work right. So it just kind of either reads like low all the time or high if it's really bad. And I think he probably damaged the radio. He did some weird stuff to it. I think that's a good portable radio. I think that might be a good choice to put in the vehicle too. I have an old Alinco DX70 in my truck, and I use that on 10 meters a lot. And I just have an old CB antenna on the roof, and it works great on 10. So, but the 891, you set it, you get it where you want it, you program it, and get, you're not going to drive down the road going through the menus anyway. So, even though the menu system sucks, it's a small radio, and it's smaller than an ICOM 706. So I don't think there's any radio that you can get that's that small that does 100 watts, and they actually sound pretty good.
Yeah, you're correct on that. Actually, I was using a 706 in my truck until literally today. I pulled it out, and because I'm going to be picking up, like I said, I'm actually debating between the 891 or a 7100. The 7100 I'm thinking because it does have VHF and UHF, and it does have B-Star. I kind of want to get the all modes thing going, so one radio that does it all type deal. But I am definitely considering the 891 because it is smaller, it does have 100 watts. I have a Tar Heel 2 antenna, so I put that on that. And I do have one of those Yaesu 818NDs. I'm looking at it right now. I also have a KX3, which I prefer a lot more, better. I actually did a proto activation last month, and went to 2 of the parks, and then we took it out onto a boat. I took a little vertical JPC 12 vertical, kind of like one of those Wolf River coil antennas, but a different company. Just bolted it to the side of the boat on a railing, put it up, and just threw the counterpoise into the water. And I was doing it. I was making contacts all over the bloody place on the lake. It was awesome. And working further doing that. And then I went up into the mountains on the next day and did that there too, using the same stuff. And yeah, the KX3 works great. So that's what I was using. It was almost to the house now and looks pretty, but yeah, I really haven't taken it out much. I did get the filters for it, which helped a little bit, but yeah, you're right. You kind of have to scream into the radio to make it work.
Yeah, I had big aspirations for that radio, and then I put the 2-meter antenna on it, and I did a little Yaesu FT-X4. I don't know, it's a little small, dual band handheld. And I was talking on Simplex to some guys down in Phoenix, and I tried the 818, and they said, "Oh, we can barely hear you on that thing." I'm like, it's supposed to do the same amount of power as the handheld, and the antenna is actually bigger. It was just terrible. It didn't work well on 2 meters. I don't know. And then I noticed that I got on 2 meter sideband because we used to have a sideband net here, and it was like off frequency and then drifting a little bit. But what I didn't know at the time was most 2 meter sideband activity, everybody's radios are going to be different because it's really hard to be stable at that high of a frequency on something narrow like sideband.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that, like I said, I have that 847 coming for VHF and UHF mostly, and I wanted that for sideband. So actually, I have one antenna up for VHF, UHF here, but I know I have to put up another one, and I'm just trying to figure out where and what kind. I mean, a Virgo would probably be good, but I live in the bottom of a canyon, and so anything on VHF and UHF is very difficult to get out on. HF is fine because, obviously you bounce and all that stuff, but VHF and, basically anything above 6 meters, I have a problem with, so I have to kind of figure it out to see, but, Yeah, I got APRS and stuff like that, and there's satellite, and that's what I kind of really want to get into. Might have mountains in the way, but I can't look up, so.
Yeah, the 847 is a great radio for satellite. I accidentally bought a TS2000, and that's a terrible radio for satellite. We won't get into that. That could be a real long conversation. The poor radio, the filters died on it twice. So I used two Baofangs, one going to a 440 beam and one going to a 2-meter beam for the uplink and the downlink. Made this little thing out of PVC pipe and just kind of rotated it around in the backyard, and it was a little bit tough. And I found that for the satellites, it was easier to wait late at night when there was less people on there, and then you could get in.
Yeah, again, I have to find out where I could put something like that to make it work, but yeah, that's part of that project. I'm just kind of waiting for that to come in, and then I ordered a new microphone for my K4. Well, I want to actually figure out how I can kind of use one microphone like a Hail mic, PR40, and kind of have it connected up to all the radios with like a switching system or something like that. And then, each radio has its own configuration in the radio, so when it switches over, it just, kind of takes over doing that. Or maybe I'll have like a manual board on a mixer board on the out, and just kind of have presets or something like that for each radio. Still trying to work out the mechanics on that, but that's kind of what I have in mind for that. Kind of waiting for that microphone to come in to help my audio. Because right now all I'm using is just a standard microphone from the radio. That's not actually all I'm using for any of these. So, anyways, and 6KTO Friday.
KG7HR. Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like kind of for me, like what ham radio is interesting is I don't want everything to work perfect, anyways. I fix old broken radios, and the trying to figure out how to make things work, and thinking outside of the box and stuff like that. I think that's kind of what the hobby is sort of about. There's so many people, they just go get a 7300 and an InFed antenna, and they just want to do FT8 and burn out their radio and send it to Icom. That's not ham radio to me.
Well, I like FT8. Actually, I used to like PSK31 a lot better. In fact, I do. The closest thing that anybody really uses anymore is probably RTTY, because I like the keyboard to keyboard. I like the chatting keyboard to keyboard. That was always fun. When PSK was actually the big thing back, 2009 all the way to maybe like 2017 or so, that was the funnest thing was PSK. Making those contacts going keyboard to keyboard. I miss that. FT8's not bad. I like it because you can go further, a lot less power, a lot less antenna. I mean, you don't need anything to work FT8, anything at all. I do like the keyboard to keyboard. That was always kind of fun.
Yeah, I had tried this JS8 call that's supposed to be like that. And I'm not sure, maybe just not out on at the right times, but I guess it's big on 40. So they're on 7078 instead of 74. And it has this function, called like a heartbeat or something, and just kind of sends out a beacon, I guess. But I know people have actual keyboard to keyboard conversations on there. I miss doing PSK. Oh man, it was fun. It was a lot harder, but it was fun.
Yeah. I go on there all the time, and I look for people doing PSK. The only time I really ever see people pop up is if there's some type of an event going on. That's about it. Same thing with RTTY. Last week they had that one RTTY, the worldwide one. I was on that for a bit. Yeah, I made a couple dozen contacts or so, but I mean, they're just on there making the contacts and moving on. They're not actually chatting or anything like that, but it's not bad. I mean, you could either do it live, just as you're transmitting type, or you just, send out a message, send it back and forth. Either way is fine, but
Have you seen the JS8 call?
I've heard of it. I have not downloaded the software and looked at it.
Oh, you need to look it up. Yeah, and I think it has message forwarding too. Like, but yeah, definitely that is it, what they did. They started out they were using straight up FT8, and they basically the guy that came up with it, he's like, I hacked the keyboard on FT8 so I could send longer messages, and then I wrote this program based on FT8. And then I guess maybe they got in trouble with those guys, so they changed their protocol to where it's not close enough. But it used to be you could just actually decode JS8 call with FT8. And so you can type in there and do all kinds of stuff. I just haven't seen a ton of activity.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are more concerned with whatchamacallit, FT8 and stuff like that, and FT4. And there's a couple of other ones out there. I actually don't remember. Does the software for I actually kind of thought the software for FT8 actually did JS call, or JS8 call. Let me see here, hold on.
Well, they have a drop-down menu on the WJTX, but I'm using some other one called WJDX or something, which is like more like what I guess the contest people use. I play around with it every once in a while. I keep going back to the regular one because the other one's got too many options.
Yeah, I just brought it up and took it one. No, it's what's FST for? I've never even heard of that till now. That must be new. And then I see JT4, JT9, JT65, and Q65. I've never heard of Q65. And then MSK144, then FST4W. Never heard of that one either. Interesting.
Are you using PSK Reporter to see where you're getting out at too?
Oh yeah. If I do Whisper, I'll go onto the Whisper net. If I try to test out an antenna or something like that. But yeah, I use PSK Reporter all the time.
That is so cool. I've literally found like a DX station that received me and then, copied and pasted their call into the FT8 window and then made a positive contact.
Was it an automated? Was it an automated receive station, or was it an actual person?
It was obviously an actual person because they were in one of the islands, and I saw that they had received me, and I copied their call sign and started calling them, and they responded back, and I made a contact.
I've actually never tried that before. That's actually an interesting idea.
But a lot of them really are just unattended receive stations providing reports on PSK Reporter.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of them out there, and some of them are like multi-mode. So they'll do like FT4, FTA. They'll do a couple of other ones too, like Whisper and all that stuff. They just have, if they hear something, they switch over, take the report, switch back, and it's a whole automated system.
Oh, another thing I was going to tell you. So the 891 I got from a friend who hooked it up with the amp keying circuit to an SB220, which, has 120 volts on it, so that ended well. And then he also popped the attenuator resistor. So I got the radio, and I haven't been nice to it, and I was doing, the first year I had it, I was doing FT8, 100 watts, and the radio was actually putting out more than 100 watts. 100 watts for hours on end on that 891. And I thought for sure I was going to end up killing the radio. And it just does not care. You put the fan in contest mode, it has you can adjust the fans on it. And I have literally abused the hell out of that radio, 100 watts, FT8. You can't do that on a 7300, you'll burn it up. But that 891, it doesn't care.
Oh yeah, I've done that. If I want to test out a radio to see if it actually works right as it should, I'll hook it up to FT8 and I'll have that thing just run automatically for like 24 hours straight. I'll just put a fan onto it, and then I will put, like if there's a like an SWR cutoff switch if the SWR decides to go too hot, but I'll do that. And then I'll just let it run. And it'll just keep running and running and running and running and running and running. And then there's software you can use for the flex that you can put on it if you can get it configured right, that will automatically take the call, log the call. When a new station comes in, it will grab the new call, log that call, and grab it and just keep going. So you literally have to do nothing. Nothing. It will the system will automatically do everything. I mean, you can literally just have it run, step away for 5 or 6 hours, and come back and literally see like 50 or 60 contacts without you even having to be there.
That's nuts. Yeah. Well, it was good chatting with you. I got to get over to 80 meters and see if the group is on there. You're welcome to join us. We're going to be on 3853. For sure, definitely, if you want to stop by.
Yeah, I'll stop by for a couple of minutes. I definitely want to test the tuner out on that band with some power to it to make sure it's working. Obviously, I haven't had even a glitch, knock on wood, so far here 40 or 20, so it's working. SWR has been stable, power output's been exactly where it's supposed to be, and we've been running now for almost 35 minutes talking, so it's going.
Yep, definitely. The 160 is the nasty band. That one does bad things to things, but 80 is hard on stuff too, so 80 will be a good test.
Yeah, I'll probably QSY over there in a couple of minutes. I actually have to do 1 or 2 things before I can get back on the radio, but I mean, I'll let you guys get yourself set, and then I'll jump in.
All right, awesome. It was good chatting with you, and glad I could help you test out the tuner, and good conversation. We'll catch you later. This is KG7HVR, Prescott Valley, Arizona.
Yep, and I've actually liked your area over there. I've been over there a bunch of times. I had a ham friend that lived over there for a number of years with the W6ATE. I believe he's just like T now, but he lived over there in that area. So anyway, yeah, talk to you later. 73, good chat. N6KTO.
73.